Yo, what is going on today, YouTube? Hope you guys are doing fantastic. ADCs are so back. They've got a brand new starter item, the only class that's gotten its third starter item, and they've got a few strong items right now. But to be honest, ADCs never really left. Going back to even before the Atlanta LAN, we had Sunbeam Bow, Braggy's meta, Kins was also really good. Even after Sunbeam Bow got nerfed, Braggy's is good, Kins is good, Xe is very good. Combining that with how easy it is to stack penetration, ADCs have been eaten really, really well. Well, recently, another change has happened for ADCs with that third starter item, and it is called Gilded Arrow. Now, Gilded Arrow, in and of itself, is not broken. It is a fine starter item, 25 attack power, which only makes use when you're auto-attacking, no strength, no intelligence scaling, a tiny bit of lifesteal, a little bit of attack speed if you auto-attack and last hit the arrow proc, and a little bit of extra gold. Nothing too insane there. However, if you upgrade Gilded Arrow, Sharpshooter's Arrow might be one of the most broken items we've seen in Smite 2 so far, rivaling Gargoyles, rivaling Stampede from the LAN, and rivaling Sunbeam Bow a month ago. 60 attack power, 10% attack speed, 15% lifesteal, 50% critical strike chance, more gold gain, and more auto attack damage, 20% more over that 7.5 meters away. Now, this is only a part of why ADCs are so broken right now. Shameless plug towards my build sheet. Exclamation point builds in my Twitch chat, exclamation point build, exclamation point doc, all in the Twitch chat. It's also going to be down below. I've got a bunch of builds up on the website right now. And currently, nearly every single hunter, like actual auto attacker, is building Arrow. That is how good Arrow is. It basically is just twice the item Cowl is, because Cowl is just strength and attack speed and a tiny bit of movement speed. Death Toll is strength, a little bit of health, a little bit of lifesteal. Gilded Arrow, though, or Sharpshooter's Arrow, is 4 different stats on top of extra gold gain, getting to that 3k pot faster, and also just more damage on your longer range auto attacks. One of the reasons Arrow was kind of balanced in Smite 1 was that all it was basic attack power and attack speed. It didn't have any lifesteal. Now it's got lifesteal, which makes a lot of ADC builds very, very easy to play around, because now you can just pretty easily decide, do I need a second lifesteal option? 50% lifesteal is a good enough amount, but sometimes you can build more. That 50% lifesteal comboed with Bloodforge's 15% lifesteal, and you're sitting at 30% lifesteal and an active that gives you a shield, also gives you more lifesteal. ADC builds right now are just insane. Combining that with Dagger of Frenzy. Dagger of Frenzy just caught a buff. And this is the most on her item there is. I think it's very good with like Jingwei also. Dagger of Frenzy is just insane. 50 strength, 15% attack speed, and almost there's like no other active item that really works like this, where it is such a short cooldown and it refreshes once you get a kill. If you're snowballing through a fight and popping your Dagger of Frenzy, you'll just roll through everyone. When you pop the active, you gain 30% attack speed, and you gain 10 plus 3 per level basic attack damage for the next 5 auto attacks. Gods, especially like on her, don't make use of the intelligence for Braggies, which is still a phenomenal item, but getting just more true value from the item and not making good use out of the intelligence from Braggies, Dagger Frenzy is just the strength option to Braggies. And even in some builds like CERN, I forgo both of them for Death Metal, because I think Death Metal is a very underrated item currently. Death Metal is another item where, going into the late game, I was talking to Tegvir about this. Going into the late game, 10 plus 1 strength per level, so that's 30. This is a 70 strength item. It is also 110 intelligence, 20% attack speed, and 20% crit chance. So Arrow having crit, and pretend I am on CERN, so I can make use of the attack speed. All right, I can make use of the intelligence. A Death Metal, a Deathbringer, puts you at 65% attack speed off of essentially just 2 items, because you're going the Arrow just because it's so valuable. You're not really going it because of the crit chance. And then Bloodforge, Xe, Kins, and Titan's Bane. Now maybe you're thinking, well, your attack speed's a little bit low, 1.99. No, usually around 2 it's fine, but even then, you pop your Death Metal, 20% more attack speed. You can kill tanks, you got the kin size, you'll one-shot squishies, you got the Deathbringer, you've got sustain, so you can pull objectives, you got crit for objectives. ADCs have so many viable options currently, it is insane. And that's only part of the issue. The other part of the issue is the essentially rework that they made to Kins going into Smite 2. Kin size used to be a prot reduction on the enemy. If you auto the same enemy 3-4 times, depending on when you played Smite, you reduce their protections. Now, though, it actually gives you stacking penetration. So 1 auto against Ymir gives me pen against this Cuckoo, which gives me pen against this Odin, which gives me pen against this Neith. No longer do you have to sit here and auto attack the same enemy 4 times to reduce their protections. And with Xe being 7.5% penetration 4 times, you're getting 30% pen from Xe after 4 autos. Combining that with Titan's Bane, you are ignoring 50% of the enemy's protections. If they're building 400 protections, you'll be autoing them like they're at 200. And that is not a normal number. Getting up to 400 is not normal. Usually it's about 300, and sometimes it's even as low as like 200, 220, depending. It really just depends on what stage of the game you're at, what's the god you're playing against. But realistically, some gods build only around 200 to 250 physical protections. You would just ignore half of them. It used to be balanced out, Xe at least, by the fact that you'd have to auto the same god. So if I'm hitting the Cuckoo 3-4 times, and then he runs away and I have to hit somebody else, I have to stack 4 autos onto them. Now it's really easy for carries just to kind of snowball through fights, because as long as they're auto-attacking somebody every 4 seconds, that passive is staying up. 50% pen on every single one of those autos. And I was going to make this entire video only about ADCs, but I think it's interesting to compare mage items with hunter items. Because currently, hunters have a lot of viable options. On the other side, though, mages have kind of been nerfed a few times to the point that they really don't have too many great options. Reaver is one of the worst items in the game. It is statted terribly. The way it works is bad. You would think that, 10% of their current health would be a good number to have. That's a solid amount of health. 10% of their health on the first damage. Yeah, unfortunately, it procs after the damage. So, I2 here, the 245 damage comes out first, and then you start taking the current health. Heartseeker works differently. Heartseeker is based off of your strength, which is fine. You can do the same thing with Reaver. But Heartseeker is just percent max health. So no matter what, as long as I'm hitting the character, does not matter the health they are at, that Heartseeker is always doing the exact same. It is always doing that same exact number. I mean, even looking at the ADC options, Devs is a solid option right now. The issue is Devs is not good enough. And that is insane for an item that is 2350 gold, giving 45 strength, 15% lifesteal, and 10 flat pen. That is a lot of stats for a very cheap option. But you compare it to Bloodforge, which is strength, attack speed, lifesteal, a shield. You compare it to Dagger of Frenzy. You compare it to Braggies. You compare it to Kins. I mean, Dom, I think, is in a weird spot, and we'll talk about that in a second. But like Xe also, and then you've got all the crit options. Death Metal. Hussars is even pretty solid. 40 strength, 30% crit chance, and the movement speed. Odie Bow just got added into the game, which is a solid option. Lernaean Bow, an item that I wasn't even too big of a fan of, but it's statted so well and it's pretty cheap that why wouldn't you buy it? And that's not even acknowledging that Sunbeam Bow is still broken. This is just an item that's been pushed to the wayside a little bit because it's worse early game, but still going into the late game. Okay, it's still like bugged a little bit. But going into the late game, it's still making your autos do 1.4 times the amount of damage. That is almost a crit. And you're not relying on a chance. You're not relying on needing 3 of these items. So even if a few items get nerfed, and there's a chance that they do, going into a Sunbeam Bow, Executioner, you want to build that item, but Kins, Braggies, and Odie Bow, you're still doing incredible amounts of damage with Sunbeam Bow. The only reason it's really not bought is because ADCs have a billion good items. And the last thing to touch on is dominance. They switched up dominance and they made it a little weird where it's almost like there's never really a reason to go dominance, at least in my opinion now, because this doesn't make your autos get more damage. That's what I thought it was, and that's what it was in Smite 1. All it gives you is a little yellow number that is that additional damage if you just ignored 20% of their protections. It's most relevant on gods with really high protections. Adding an extra yellow number on the side. The issue is, why build this when Xe is giving you 30% pen after 4 autos, yes, but it doesn't have to be on the same character, and it makes your crits do more damage, it makes your yellow numbers do more damage, and especially just getting rid of it entirely for double pen, you're just going to be doing a lot more damage with Titan's Bane and Xe, and Dom is just completely irrelevant because of how they reworked it. I actually think an item like Dom could be really cool as an anti-protection item, but it's got to be way higher than 20%. It's got to be way higher than 20%. Something like 35%, and then you just try to get to a really high strength and auto attack speed number, and then you're just ignoring a lot of protections with it. And that yellow number is just so off, and then it's looking a lot better. But even then, it just seems like it's going to be overwhelmed by XC and Titansbane. Now, I didn't really make this video on the idea of let's just nerf all these hunter items, because I do think hunters need to be very strong. My really only issue is, one, sharpshooter's bow I think is just way too overstated. Two, I think it's very, very, very easy to get more penetration than you should be able to without getting rid of enough stats. Like you compare, actually, let's go back in one more time. You compare what mages have to do for their 50% pen, which is Obshard and Totem. They're getting 100 intelligence and 15 cooldown for this. You compare that to Titansbane and XC. You're at 85 strength here, 20% attack speed. 80 strength or 100 intelligence. That's supposed to be nearly twice as much. It's supposed to be actually over twice as much because it's about 900 intelligence is equal to about 400 strength. So every 9 intelligence should be about 4 strength. No, this is every 8.5 strength is equal to 10 intelligence. And that's even with, I think Totem is a very, very good item because this gives you, these two items together give you 50% pen. I think that is incredible. But I think it's just becoming way too easy to get too much penetration, and it makes building protections not feel very good. And you can't build health because kin size is absolutely insane for killing health targets. 3% of their max HP, and then you're dealing 4% difference in max health. It's a crazy statted item. So what would I do? What would I do? Well, in regards to just these two items, I'd probably nerf the strength of Executioner a lot and nerf the strength of Titansbane just a little bit, probably down to maybe probably 35, maybe 30. And then I would nerf Executioner probably down to 25, maybe even 20. I think this is just too many stats you're getting. And you could probably even buff up Obshard and Totem just a tiny bit. Probably Obshard, bring it up to like 70, 80 intelligence. But I think you also have to kind of make these passives slightly weaker, whether it is Totem of Death only being 5% penetration. So then if you do, start scaling through a fight, this adds up to 40%. But again, you go back to, like Rod being a percent pen item, which is getting bought a lot. Benny's been building Doom Orb a lot. So even with just these 4 items, you're still sitting at a 60% pen if this was reduced to 20% at the top end. But yeah, I was doing my build guide yesterday, and it just made me think a lot about hunter items and mage items. And I think they need a little bit more rebalancing. I think mages are pretty weak right now. Weekend said on stream that he thinks you probably even shouldn't be playing mages, which I kind of agree with. Maybe like Hecate is still pretty strong that you could play her, but most mages just don't have great intelligence items, and then ADCs have very, very strong items. I'm hoping to see a little bit of a nerf, a little bit of a shift to something about this. But again, check out the build guide. Make sure you guys have your updated builds. I just finished that yesterday. Those are updated for OB2, but I will still be updating and tweaking stuff because there is still a lot of stuff to learn from this patch. These are just first gut reactions to things or what I've seen other players build. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you guys have understood. I'll see you guys again next time. Peace.